All right. Please, are you ready? You're on mute. You're on mute. Don't worry, they will not hear you. It's only 4 of us here at the moment. Oh, yes. Yes, that's right. I need to put your story.
No, it's
Make
okay.
co-host.
I
Make
didn't realize
co-host.
you were waiting for me.
All right. Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, I will let them in now. We have 27 people waiting.
Oh wow, that's good. That's positive. Good evening, everyone. I will wait for the host to let you all in before we do introductions and welcome you all tonight. I can see that we've turned up in the numbers. Well done, guys. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Let me just send a message to the host. I like that some people are using the chat function. Good evening, everyone. You're all welcome. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name's Temi, and welcome to our first ever financial masterclass. You're all very, very welcome. Just a few ground rules before we get started. We have muted all of you because we know that for some people there can be some background noise. We will take questions at the end. If you have a question at some point, please type your question and post it on the chat. We will answer all questions at the end. Happy for you to leave your cameras on, whatever works for you all. And we'll get started. I hope all of you have a notepad and a pen, because the gems that we will be dropping tonight will be very, very useful. It will be information that you need and use for your future, really, your financial future. So before we get started, as I said, my name's Temi. Just to give you some background, how did tonight come about? A few of us in the church were having a conversation with Pastor Albert about different financial things. We kept pressuring him, saying, Pastor Albert, you've got all this knowledge. Can you please share it with us? Can you share the wisdom? So that's how today has come about. At first, it started within the ministry, but actually since then the flyer has gone beyond. So we know that we have friends and family joining us from within the ministry, from outside of the ministry, in the UK, outside of the UK. You are all very, very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We really hope that this series, as the first one, will be very beneficial and useful to you. So before I hand you over, I hope that everyone has an idea of what they want to take from today's meeting. So you may want to just jot down what it is that you want to accomplish. And if there's anything specific you want us to touch on throughout the series at some point, please drop it in the chat and we will make sure that we cover that topic at some point. So can I introduce you all to your speaker? He goes by the name of Pastor Albert. I've called him CFO Albert, but he can explain and introduce himself. And I've added another name. He's a Joseph to our generation. For those of you that know the Bible or who have attended Sunday school, Joseph was a man who was sold into slavery by his siblings. If those of you that remember Joseph and the multicolored coat, His dad was Jacob. He was sold into Egypt, but he was sold for a purpose and for a specific time. And that was to save the people who were living in Egypt from poverty and crisis. It's so relevant in today's time because of the cost of living crisis that's going on in the UK. So we welcome Pastor, CFO, Prime Minister Albert.
Thank you, Temi. Wow. First of all, we want to say welcome to all our guests. I think when Temi and Fiona, brethren in the church, talked about the master class, this is not what we had in mind, but we thank God for everything He does. And before we continue, let us say a word of prayer. As we will discover everything we receive it from God. You may not know God, you may not believe in Him. We hope that by the end of this session today, you will not just learn about money, you will learn about where money comes from, you will learn about where you come from and where you are going to. Lord Jesus, we thank you for the privilege to be on this platform tonight. And we thank you for the importance of money. We thank you for all the wealth that you have entrusted to us, oh God. And we thank you for the many who have come here to learn. We pray that you'll be present and that you will teach us. We pray that the few minutes, the time we are going to spend together, will enrich our life for eternity. Bless us as we continue to discuss together. In Jesus' name, amen. So who am I? I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert in everything. I'm just learning. In terms of my my credential, I'm a chartered accountant. It means I'm the member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants in the UK, one of the 6 professional bodies. I've been a member for probably 12 to 13 years now. That's why my initials go by FCCA, Fellow Chartered Certified Accountant. I've occupied many senior finance roles within the private sector, multinationals. Currently, I'm head of finance, doing a lot of multi-million contracts. But in terms of my main business, I consider myself somebody who connects people to God. Somebody said, make sure you always have at least 3 contacts in your phone. Have a lawyer, a good lawyer, a good doctor, and a good accountant. I'm adding a 4th one. Make sure you have God in your list of contacts, because the day will come when you need it, either in this life or after this life. So I consider myself connecting people to God, helping them to become the reason God created them. In terms of my day-to-day job, I do contract commercial negotiations, leadership training, coaching and mentoring, sporting rights, business venture, turning business around, and a bit of property development. And I think it leads me to the first point for tonight. Which business are you in? I want you to take a piece of paper and write down, in which business are you in? Tell me, are you there?
Yes, I am.
If I ask you the question, in which business are you in, what will you answer?
I'd say I'm in the healthcare industry.
No, that's the sector in which you are business in. That's not the business you are in.
Well,
what do you enjoy doing in the healthcare?
I enjoy looking after people, delivering care, supporting people.
Okay. As part of the presentation, I want you to write down the business you are in. Somebody asked, McDonald, the founder of McDonald, was having a lunch with some graduate students. And he asked a question to those students. In which business am I in? And all the students said, come on, that's pretty obvious. You're in the sandwich business. Everybody knows that. You sell sandwich, you make sandwich for a living. He said, no, you got it wrong. I am in the property estate business. I own most of the estates in the world, in the major cities, in key places, key junction. I own those estates. That probably you never have thought of that. You will notice wherever McDonald's is located, they have targeted the location properly, and they are making sure that the value of the location is increasing with time. It's in the estate business. It's not in the sandwich business. So find out in which business are you. What are the skills that you have that makes you peculiar? Can we move to the next slide, please, Adrian? Our promise to you is this. By the end of this course, by the end of this masterclass, you will increase your net worth by at least 10%. I thought somebody was. I'll be hearing some clap going through the chat. I want you to believe it. You will either learn how you will increase your income, what we call in business your top line, or you will reduce your expenditures, or both will happen. But if you are, let's say your salary is about 35,000, probably you'll be 38 within the next 12 months. You will go to 38.5. And I want you to believe that. Next slide, please. You may ask me, how do I know? I know because it will happen, and you will make it happen. Before we get into more serious stuff, let's crack some jokes. I came across few quotes as I was. I've been doing some reading. I've been doing some research, and not just for the sake of this masterclass today, but as part of my own development, I tend to read a bit. Warren Buffett said, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you have to be awake all the time to make money." And let me tell you, unfortunately, there's a time when you have to stop. You can't just keep going. So that's why it says you may end up working until you die. If the love of money is the root of all evil, the need of money is the most certainly the root of all despair. We had a youth camp in I think July last year, July or August, and there was a class next to the finance section of, I think, wellness, mental well-being, and we put a sign in front of our door putting financial well-being, and guess what happened? Most people came to a workshop. The thing is that if financially you are not well, you end up struggling with any form of well-being. And there's this quote that I love: "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and mammon or money." Jesus says that there are only two masters, either God or money. The next one, money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. I hope that by the end of this course today, you will not, or you will stop being a slave to money. You will become a slave to God, and you learn to master money. Because many people are suffering through the slavery of money. They work many jobs, and they are constantly broke. Or their passion for money has separated them from everyone they love. Hopefully by the end of this session, you will find the right balance. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay. Few principles on money. I think it's good. Every honest author will quote his references. I've read some, as I said, I've read some books from various authors on and listened to many presentations on money. But I would like to introduce you to a book by excellence. If you have ever read the New Testament, there are 38 parables recorded from Jesus in the New Testament. 16 of them have to do with money. The Bible, the New Testament talks more about money, 5 times more about money than prayer. And while there are 500 verses talking both about prayer and faith, there are over 2,000 verses dealing with money and possessions. This is a commentary from John MacArthur. So if you want to know about money, if you want to know about possessions, how to manage them, how to acquire them, how to use them, turn to the Bible. And that's why until recently, most people, most educated people had a Bible on their shelves. Because you may not belong to the Christian faith, but it's universally known that the Bible teaches principles that will help you. And some of those principles I've listed some of them, about 5 of them. The first one, whose health is it anyway? We talk about that pursuit of money, by acquiring more and more wealth. Whose wealth is it? Is it yours? Or it's coming from somewhere? Are you the one who gives yourself the strength to wake up in the morning? Are you that clever? Don't you? I'm sure you can admit that you have known people cleverer than you who have not made as well as you are doing. The Bible says that we have received everything from God. That everything a man receives comes from God. And Jesus gives that parable in Matthew 25, that there was a master who had 3 servants. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1. And he left them. And he gave them each one according to their abilities, and he left. And the first 2 multiplied their talents. And when the master came back, he was pleased with what they had done. And he said, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of your master. You have done well with what I've given you, I will give you more. And that brings me to the second point. We are in a growth process. Whatever we have on this earth, we are learning. We are learning from our mistakes. We are making a progress in the right direction. Money and material possessions are used as a tool for relationship, a tool for exchange. They are used as a test. You know those times when you were desperate to land that job and it did not come. And you turn to God and say, oh God, why? Why? And probably that was a time you lift up your head and you spoke to God. We know the prodigal son, his experience when he left his father's house and went and squandered all his wealth. When he was lacking, he turned to God. Sometimes money and material wealth are used as a test. And the final element, they are used as a testimony. Jesus said that we should not run after those things that pagans do. In a time of economic crisis, as what we are experiencing today, if you start worrying like pagan or thinking of ending a life because you have been made redundant, what's the difference between you and somebody who doesn't know God? You say you are going to heaven and the street of heaven amidst of God, but you are panicking because you are losing your job. Are we not supposed to do better since we know better? The next thing that parable teaches us is that the amount and quantity of money each one will earn and each one will handle will vary from one person to the next. But what matters is how you handle it. So the fourth thing that parable teaches us is take action. You can attend this course, you can listen to various programs, you can read good books. Unless you take action, you are just wasting your time. We want to encourage you to take actions. And the final point, probably you may be somebody who has done well. You are financially literate. Life is good. You heard about this course and you said, let me see what this could add to me. You may not be in the different phases as some of the listeners are. The fifth one is for you. No matter how much money we make, a day will come when that money will either leave us or we will leave it behind. Anybody who has ever made money end up either losing it to bankruptcy, the stock market crashing, to people stealing it, or to divorce, or to death. Money will go. So it's quite important that we learn to make the most of it while we have it, because it's not going to be there forever. Let's move to the next slide, please. So before we continue, let's establish some market rules and some terms that I want everybody to be familiar with. I'm trying to rush because I want to give you enough so that you can ask questions at the end. There are forces that control any given market or any economy. You understand those forces, you are well placed to deal with those forces and to navigate your way through the market. The first is supply and demand. Most of us in the UK are suffering from high utility bills because of war in Ukraine. Russia has stopped supplying the West with energy. The prices have gone up, and we are picking up the bill. Anybody who works in McDonald's, for example, since there are many people who can be working there, they are bound not to receive significant salary because the demand is high, the supply is high. So what's the point of increasing the prices? Things that are rare are expensive. Things that are common are cheap. That's a simple rule. It applies in everything, probably except in the provision of this masterclass. It's all because we are made it free that is worthless. You will determine the value of it in your application. The next element is the availability of relevant information. Somebody said 300 years ago, if you own a piece of land, you were considered wealthy. About 100 years ago, if you had built a factory on that piece of land, you were wealthy. Today, if you have the right information, you are wealthy. If you knew that by investing in Tesla, I think around the 24th of January, you will have made 83% of return. You will have doubled your money within a month. Let me tell you, you won't be sitting here listening to me. You'll be enjoying your money. So the people who have information at the moment, and that's why there's that massive war around information. Amazon knows almost everything about us. Apple knows everything about us, almost. They know the website you go. They know which advertisement to send to you. The one who has the relevant information has power. In the market, we have what we call disruptors, those who come and challenge the status quo. Amazon has been a disruptor. Amazon changed the way we do shopping. Apple changed the way we interact with computer, from having those big machine on a table to having a small thing that you can use on your hands. The gentleman, I forgot the name of the guy who put wheels on suitcases. That was disruption. It changed the whole market. But look how small the idea was. When people used to carry heavy suitcases for somebody, he just said, hang on, why can we not just put wheels on a suitcase? And let me tell you, today is a millionaire. So you can have an idea that disrupts the whole market, challenge the status quo, and it changed your life forever. I will skip the other point. Season and time, understanding when to enter into a market. when a profession is becoming redundant. I've given the example of somebody who told me that he wanted to enter into a profession. He wanted to start a career into a training to become a qualified gas engineer. And I told him that, but in the next 5 years, the government is planning to get rid of all boilers. What are you going to do? So the time was, if somebody says that he wants to become an expert in the diesel engine, come on, we are moving towards electric. You'll be waiting for a coach that's long gone. So understanding the season and the time in which we are, and understanding the major government and treasury announcement. When the government says that, okay, this is our policy going forward, pay attention. And the final element is taxes. We will talk more about taxes towards the end of the presentation. But I want you to understand one thing. For the common person, you think that the rich people are paying more taxes? It's not always true. Taxes as a system that has been introduced as a sweetener for most of the population, so that they will understand that, okay, everybody is paying their fair share. But the people who pay the brunt, who bear the brunt of the taxes, are the middle class and the low class. The people who are well-to-do have schemes in place to reduce the amount of tax they pay. So no matter what the government decides to do around taxes, they will find loopholes to reduce it. Loopholes that are not available to the average person. So when you have the conversation on the street, people think that, hey, the taxes, the rich are paying, the rich, let's tax more the rich. The government will make an announcement, but the rich people will know how to manage it. And it will end up falling on the people who voted for those laws. So once you understand those things, it helps us have the framework about, okay, what to deal with. And then next slide, please. In terms of the financial laws, we mentioned the major forces in the market. It will help you also to understand the laws that operate in the market. What do I mean by laws? You know the law of gravity. Once you understand the law, you can use that law to your advantage instead of fighting against it. One of the law, and this is one very close to my heart, I call it the law of the have and have not. To the one who has, more will be given. To the one who doesn't, even what he has will be taken from him. We know that rich people tend to grow richer and poor people tend to grow poorer. It's as if riches, wealth, success are highly selective. They are looking for people who already have them and they follow them. So I hope that by the end of this course, and that's our hope and that's our prayer, you position yourself in the category of those who have, so that you have more. The next law, the next two laws is what we call the law of stewardship. If you can be trusted with very little, you'll be trusted with much. It's automatic. By the way you handle the little you have, you determine if you are willing, if you are ready to receive more. If you are not being faithful with what belongs to somebody else, you will not receive your own. As an employee, you don't care about what belongs to the company because anyway, it's not your company. You will never set up your own business. Why? Because you'll have developed a bad attitude. And that's something I want you to understand. The key thing about what attracts wealth or determines how much wealth you can use is the attitude you develop towards wealth. You decide that you will learn. You decide that you will take risks, you will develop what you have, more comes your way. You decide that you will be lazy. Whatever you have, you lose it. You decide that you will take care of what belongs to somebody else while waiting for you to have your own. The day will come when you will have your own. You decide that you will despise what belongs to somebody else because it's all your own. You will never receive your own. The same thing applies. You help your boss at work, he will do everything for you to be promoted because he will be promoted. Somebody needs to take his place. He will recommend you. You decide to give him hard time, no problem. You may be the first one out before he follows you. The next financial law is give and it come back to you. This is not because I'm a pastor. In almost all books on success and any rich people, whatever their faith, they know the principle of giving. Let me tell you, if you are stingy, if for you everything you have is for yourself, you have already cursed yourself. The rest of this training is not for you, because money, you don't know how money operates. The same hands that gives is the same hands that receives. Everybody knows that for you to keep receiving, you need to give. That's why most of the people who make a lot of money give. It's not just for tax purposes, but they know that is a principle around money. You cannot acquire wealth if you don't give. It will constipate you and it will kill you. So we are not giving just because the Bible says so. We are giving for your own good. And if you have not been giving, either your church, you have not been giving your tithe, you have not been giving your offering, that could be where your problems are waiting for you. That's where the source of your problems. So give. And the final thing, give to those who are poor, give to those who are less favored than you. The Bible says he will give to the poor, lend to the Lord, and God will pay you back. And avoid any scams. I was watching a documentary yesterday of many people in Australia who have been scammed. People promising them fortunes. Look, avoid all those get-rich-quick schemes. Avoid them. That's not how money works. Next slide, please. Okay, discover yourself. We are getting to the more practical stuff now. Nobody will ever give you more value than the one who knows yourself best. Who's that person? It's you. Move to the next slide, please. You need to discover who you are. What do you have to offer? Remember, at the start we said, what's your business? In which business are you in? What do you have to offer? Do you know the amount of people that ask the question, what do you study? I'm studying business administration, or I'm doing an MBA. What can you do? I can do everything. Let me tell you, if you can do everything, nobody will ever employ you. Well, probably they will employ you to do everything. That will be probably doing some cleaning or tidying up the place or doing some admin work. But nobody will give you a serious job. And that's a default answer I get from many people coming from university. And they think that by giving you that answer, they're giving you something that is really amazing. What can you do? I can do everything. Nobody can do everything. Nobody. It means you are never taking time to find out what you can contribute. And if you don't know what you can contribute, what do you expect people to expect something from you? And you are complaining, you are not getting the job you want. Who should trust you? You know yourself best. And you who knows yourself, you cannot even trust that you can do anything good. And you are complaining that no employer is willing to give you a shot. So understand who you are. What are your strengths? What do you have to offer? Which business are you in? Are you a friendly person? Are you good at communicating? That could be your business. And you can be customer service, you can be in sales, you can be a secretary, but you could be doing those jobs, but your business is that you just like chatting and you enjoy it. And for you can chat from the morning to the evening without complaining. That's the business you're in. And find a job that goes along that business, you'll be happy. But if you are somebody who likes to be quiet, your own corner, and you like to be lost in your thoughts, thinking about the next problems Britain is going to have, go and do some research. Go and look for a job where you'll be left alone. Know which kind of business you can apply to, because you know yourself. And don't be afraid to say, this is who I am. Because there's a limit of how much you can adapt. You can change yourself to fit into a job. There's a limit. And that's why people are stressed at work. So believe in yourself. Okay? And stop self-sabotaging yourself. Stop saying, I cannot. we told you at the beginning that your wealth will increase by 10%. And some people say, really? Yeah, stop that. We promise you, your wealth will increase by 10%. Believe us because we believe you. By believing in yourself, you will lead others to believe you, to follow suit. The next thing is, come up with a financial goal, a clear one. And I want us to stop for a moment. Write down a clear financial goal. I want to do this by this time. Write it down. There's a power in writing down things that you believe, that you want to achieve. Once you have done it, share it with one or two people you can trust, and who will have the courage to come and ask you, hey, you said that you were going to do this, what's happening? I will share quickly a story. In probably around 2000 and how many years ago? About about 9 years ago, 9 or 8 years ago, I was working in a company, and one day the CFO of that company came, sat by me in the office we were working. And while I was working, I saw him, he was on his laptop, and he had his Lloyd's account open. I knew that it was a personal Lloyd's account because it looks like I'm banking with Lloyd's. And he had an Excel spreadsheet. He was looking at his bank account and recording the expenses. Now, keep in mind that CFO was earning probably twice or twice and a half my salary at the time. He was tracking all his expenses, and he told me that I do it. I have the record of my expenses going back many years. And I was there struggling with my own little salary, and I don't even know what happens to my bank account. I left that place, went to my house, downloaded all my bank statements going back for a year. I actually discovered that Amazon was even charging me for things that I was not even supposed to be paying for. But I set out for the first time a clear financial goal for my life. One thing I discovered is that whatever I was going to do, my income was not enough to cover my expenses. I removed all the expenses that I needed to be removed, but even what was left was not enough. So I said my salary needs to go up, and I established a 5-year plan. I will tell you what happened to that. The next point, develop good financial habits and keep adding to yourself. Develop yourself. Attend seminars like this one. Read good books. There are many material out there on YouTube. Read, learn, keep learning. You'll become better at it. Improve your services. You are your asset. Become the person the company cannot do without. And when you ask for a pay increase, they will give it to you gladly. And develop good financial habits. Look, stop overspending. Live within your means. Learn good discipline. Track your expenditure. Measure where you spend. Establish budget. Save. Those habits, somebody said, saving £100 every month may never make you rich, but that habit will save you from becoming poor because you have learned to see money and not use it. It's that habit that will save you one day. It may not be what you have saved. It's the habit you will have cultivated, that you will have developed, that will help you. There are some people who cannot see money and just be quiet. As soon as they've seen money, they need to go to the shopping center. And then can we go to the next slide, please? The next one. Here we address what we call stop blazing. You may just discover that money is just going out of your bank account. You don't understand what is happening. Do the examination. Sit down, make a list, and review your expenses, your expenditures, whatever. You will discover that you are just spending too much on mobile phone. I still struggle to understand seeing some people paying 3 figures and more on a mobile phone. People who are earning less than £1,000 a month. Why? Reach out to somebody trustworthy and ask the person to keep your money. If you suffer from impulses, you just buy when you see things. Ask the person to keep your money and to help you invest. Decide to live below your means. This is something I learned from a leader, church leader, Pastor Theodore, at the last finance course we had in December. He said that he always compares himself with those who have less than him, that he fills one's heart with gratitude. Many of us, we compare ourselves with our neighbor down the road there. They change cars every 2 years. They go on holidays twice a year. And you want to live like them. You don't know how much debt they have, but you want to live like them. Or you compare yourself to that colleague who's buying new pairs of shoes, very expensive shoes every month. You want to live like them. You don't know how much debt they have. Don't do that. It will not help you. Live below your means. In terms of the cost of living crisis, one reality is that rents are becoming quite expensive in London. Not just in London, probably in the southeast, in most part of the UK. The pandemic has and the change in the job market has changed the dynamics around the property market. So what's happening is that you find that people either trying to recoup their money. I'm a landlord myself. The interest on mortgage have gone up by almost. Mine have gone up almost by 3. I've not yet passed it to the tenant, because if I dare to say, they're probably going to leave. But that's a reality in which the economy has put the landlord in, and they have to pass it to the tenant. And that's what happens when you don't have. Whatever the government does, there will be people who will be suffering from that. And usually, it's the people who don't have. Because the people who have, we know how to mitigate the risk. So in London, if you are struggling to find a place in London, have you thought of having a shared accommodation? You thought coming up with a friend and decide that the two of you will get a nice apartment, live together? Or why not take a 4-bedroom house where 2 families can live comfortably? The reality is that the 2-bedroom market is one of the one most in demand. A 3-bedroom house is more cheaper if you compare by home in terms of price. 4-bedroom house is more cheaper. The most expensive market is the 2-bedroom market. And that's a market where most people want to go into. So if you decide to think, to use your creativity, to use your mind and say, how can I beat the market? Probably I may not afford to rent a 1,500 a month flat in London. But what if I can afford a 1,800 3-bedroom house and rent out a room to somebody who will be paying 600? I will have a bigger place for only 1,200. It's that way of thinking that makes a difference. Instead of just saying that, okay, things are expensive, you can think differently. And this is what courses like this and reading and discussing with people is going to create in you. And it will change you, it will save you money, or it will make you earn money. And let me tell you a place, if you decide to leave this course and go and become a landlord, drop me a note. You have my contacts at the end of the meeting. I'll be quite pleased to hear from you. In terms of food items, can you do bulk purchases? Can you get close to another family that you know in your circle and decide that, look, let's go and do massive shopping together, bulk purchases, and you share it? You will save more money than going to Asda every evening. And there's this trick that I've just discovered. You can shop in Co-op or some of those shops just before they close. There are some display by item, highly reduced. You'll be amazed at what you can find. So in terms of another way of stopping your bleeding, pay those high interest debt. Reduce the use of overdraft. The overdraft, they may be charging you 50p a day, but by the end of the month it adds up. and the credit card, it just adds up. Find what is the cost and decide either you reduce your expenses or you decide that it's time to change job, change career, or add a second job, or decide to have a side business, but do something. Because unless you do something, you will remain in that circle. Okay, Adele, can we go to the next one, please? I am conscious we are almost there. In terms of how much should I be earning? And here I'm talking to the younger population connected. I've heard people say, if I can get a 23,000 per annum. And for those who are not from the UK, the purpose of this course was mainly intended for the UK population. So please bear with us. We can probably discuss further later. But if you're in the UK, and it's particularly you're in London, the London minimum, what they call London minimum living salary, has been increased to 23,300 from April next year. This is the salary you earn for just being an adult and working for a company that has signed up to that living wage. If your company has not signed up to that living wage and you are earning the national minimum wage, your minimum salary will be 20,280 per annum. This is a salary you earn for just being an adult and having a contract. So now when we are talking about adding value, if you are telling me that you have gone to uni or you are studying or you can speak English better than some people who are migrated here who cannot even speak any English, but earn that salary just because they are 18 years old, which value do you have? So in terms of finding how much should I be earning, is it not normal to think that your salary should be as far as that bottom salary? I heard people who say that they want to graduate from uni and have 25,000 per annum. After a loan of 25,000, you want to be 2,000 better than somebody who has not gone to uni, who has not even gone to secondary school? The decision is yours. Nobody can make that decision for you. But the reality is that if you earn 23,300 in London, it means probably, assuming you don't have any issue with the HMRC, your net after tax is 1,600. Any average flat will be probably not even flat. You won't be able to afford probably a flat. You will probably rent a home somewhere. It may take you about 600. You remove your giving to God, you'll be struggling to pay your tithe. You remove your giving to God, you pay your rent. You remove your transport, you barely have anything left. And the problem is that because you have not developed yourself, you remain in that vicious circle. After 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you remain there. But if you decide to add value to yourself and you discover the business you are in, you discover your talent, you learn about you become financially literate, you can move away from that 23,000. You become somebody who adds more value to the society. Can you take me to the next slide, please? And the final one. The last thing we want to recover, a second to the last thing, is, okay, you have said all these things, first of all. So what should I do? In accounting, we have what we call assets and liabilities. People who tend to grow their wealth, grow their assets. Assets is everything that adds, consider it, try to give you a simple answer. An asset is anything that adds value to your bank account. A liability is what takes money out of your bank account. You can invest into a house, it becomes an asset. It grows in value with time. When you want to sell it, you can sell it, have more money. If you buy a house and you do some work, it will increase in value. As long as you sell it, you can get some money back. If you want to live there, probably it takes money out of your account. So some people will put house either under asset or liabilities. But consider any asset, anything that adds money into your account. If you want to grow wealthy, if you want to develop wealth, increase your assets, increase what we add money to your account. What could be make money work for you? The wealthy people make money work for them. They have investment, they have savings where they on which they earn interest, they have stock and shares. Instead of buying Nike, a pair of trainers of £400, for example, somebody can decide that, okay, I will take those £400 and buy some shares in Nike. After 20 years, those £400 could become 40,000, could become 50,000. But after 20 years of you buying that trainer, if it's lucky enough, you'll be in a bin or a certain place that you have no idea that's gone to. So that's the difference between how some wealthy people think and how the average people can think. I'm not saying that don't go and buy your trainers, it's up to you. I'm saying that those £400, you can turn them easily into £40,000 in 10 years. Somebody said that anybody who invested, I think, £100 in Amazon 20 years ago would have been a millionaire by now. You can be the next millionaire. The next table that we are showing is the difference between sole trader and limited company. I know that we have many people connected who have asked a question about what's the difference between the two and what's the advantage, one versus the other. Rich people tend to set up limited companies. Why? Because when you have a limited company, you pay taxes after you have taken the expenses from your income. Well, as an individual, your money is, the taxes is collected at source through PAY, you pay as you earn. And you pay expenses after the government has taken taxes from your money. Somebody said it takes about an individual almost 4 to 5 months to pay the taxes. So if you divide your 12 months, you work in a year, 4 to 5 months goes to the government, 2 months goes to the bank interest, and the rest is your money. While in a limited company, it's the contrary. So I will advise, especially with all the changes in the tax legislation, try to see how you can set up a limited company to minimize your tax expenditures. But you need professional advice on that. And finally on this, watch out for changes in tax code. Many people receive those data from the HMRC, they come in brown envelope and you don't pay attention. And you think that, oh, suddenly you are receiving more money until you discover that at the end of the year, the HMRC tells you that you have to pay back. If your tax code is not case something, question it, query it with the HMRC. It should be L. Is it K or L? It should be L11230. I will confirm it in the chat. That's a standard tax code for every person living in the UK. Unless you owe money to the HMRC, they change it. They change the letters in front of it. And as you embark of making more money, do some tax planning. Okay, the final slides, and I will stop talking because I'm a bit tired. I think we are going to share those slides with you. I just wanted you to see how much somebody who earns 25,000 takes home. Somebody who earns 25,000 takes home 1,700 a month. Somebody who earns 27,500 per annum takes home 1,893. It takes home more, 100 and almost 10%, slightly below 10% more than the other. So when somebody says, hey, I don't want to work more money because I will be paying too much taxes, that's not true. Okay, now look, if you move to the right, somebody who earns 32,000, how much does it take home? 2,148, probably close to, well, 400 more than the guy who earns less, who earns 25,000. So, and if you decide to earn 100,000, I like that one, you'll be taking home 5,587,000. That's almost 4 times the guy who's on 25,000. So, what's wrong anymore? So that big lie that I hear people say, oh, if you earn more, you'll be paying more taxes, except you're on benefit. and you want to remain on means tested. But look, if you can add value to yourself and apply for that job where they need managerial skills, go for it. You need some coaching, we'll be there to help you. But go for it, and you'll be happy. Okay, I will stop here.
Thank you, Pastor Albert. I do have somebody sent me a question on WhatsApp, but before I go to WhatsApp, I don't know if anyone's got some questions that they want to send through to the group chat, or they can send it privately if they feel it's personal. I won't disclose your name. I think, Pastor Albert, one thing we do need to do is plan for a particular session on taxes for people to understand the differences. Also, can we ask for people to send through topics that they want us to touch on, so that when we're planning future sessions, we can actually tailor it to particular questions, topics. So I'll go to the first question that somebody sent me. For those who are naturally creative and gifted in the arts, so for example, graphic designers, dancers, photographers, musicians, what can they do to create a financially comfortable life? And then after that, we'll come to questions on the group chat.
I think that's a good question. One reason why people like football or any form of concert, and it's because as human beings, we are fascinated when we see how somebody can push themselves. In football, what is it? You see some people who are trained. They have trained themselves until they can kick the ball and dictate how the ball goes. So you sit down there for 3 hours watching people kicking the ball or people playing tennis, because they spend their whole life specializing into that. If you're an artist and you do your art very well, people will pay millions to come and see you. Look at Banksy. We don't even know who the guy is. So nobody should think that it's because, hey, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a doctor, that I cannot make it. Find your trade, do it well, and do it very well.
Sorry, Pastor, how would they create financial stability? Because I think the thing with those industries is sometimes the economy is up with it, sometimes it's down. There are seasons for those kind of economies. So I think the question's more around in terms of stable and consistent incomes.
Do you think that there are people who are making a stable income out of art?
Oh, absolutely.
Let them be the next. That's the very thing we are saying. Let them be the next. If there's one person who has trailblazed in front of you, learn from him and do the same thing.
So how do they do that?
By applying themselves to their trade, and they become best at it. Is that defeating that voice that tells them that you cannot make it? They need to ask that voice to stop talking and actually prove to themselves that they can do it, and prove to us that, hey, on the 28th of February, we attended that course and I decided that I was going to make it, and you will make it.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what investments do you advise people to consider?
It depends on many factors. Those are not questions you answer publicly like this. One, it depends on your risk appetite. One. Secondly, be aware that any investment you make, the reward for your profit is the reward for the risk you have taken. So investment can go up or down. My advice to everyone, invest what you are ready to lose comfortably, because it can go up or it can go down. Learn about what you want to do, and if you are very prudent, there are many specialist investment. You can go to your bank, you can go to some brokers. They will carry out the investment for you at a lesser reward, but at least your investment will be protected. If you want to do the stock market, you can try, but there will be days you'll be making some money, there will be days you'll be losing. So it's up to everybody's appetite, how much money you can afford to put aside for a while, and how much you can lose.
I would add to that, Pastor Albert, that never invest what you can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
Or cash that you need continuously. So sometimes people make investments and think that, oh, by next week it will make a return, but it doesn't always work like that. The next question doesn't work like that, absolutely. How much percentage of my income should I save? That was a question.
There's a rule of thumb out there. Some people suggest 10%, some people suggest 20%. It depends on how much you can afford. And the reality is that for many people in this economic climate, begin with something and make progress. Yeah, we are in a school. It's better you begin somewhere and make progress than trying to set a target that you're not going to achieve.
Absolutely. The next question is, how do I make an investment if I don't have money saved? Where do I start? So many people do want to invest, but they can't afford to.
Let them build their reserves. And I think that was the word. Add value. Find your business. Find the business you are in. Add value. Make yourself relevant. Look, if you play well, people will find you, and they will make you sign some contracts. That's Bernardo's and is it no Ronaldo's, Ronaldo and that young guy in France, Mbappe. When you sign your contract, you'll be laughing at Mbappe's contract because yours will have more zeros than his.
Absolutely. What is your advice to a 17-year-old who wants to own a house at 25? And I think that should be a separate session as well, but
yeah,
go ahead.
If you want to own a house at 25, make sure you don't behave like the average 17 years old. That's the first thing. You need to go fast because the property market in the UK, I assume the person is in the UK. The property market in the UK tends to double every 15 years in most places, except you live in a place like Scotland or some places in Lancashire where unfortunately, there's not much movement. And if there's so much movement, that's why people don't go there. That's why the property is not moving. But in average, the property market in the UK tends to double every 15 to 20 years. So when you have a 10 years plan to try to save, you have to go really quick because you are catching up. The inflation goes faster than the speed at which you are saving. Unless you decide to really tighten your belt, you will always be behind the market. And I didn't have time to disclose this, but the politicians have decided that as part of the Brexit strategy to turn the UK into the Singapore of Europe. What Singapore represents for Asia, they want the UK to represent that for Europe. Why Singapore? Singapore is a highly deregulated area, close to a highly regulated bloc. So most business go and settle in Singapore because there's less regulation to do business next door. The politicians want most companies to come in the UK, settle here to do business with Europe, which is highly regulated. That's part of the Brexit agenda. And they are turning the UK into a most expensive place to live.
Pastor Albert, can I just ask, so with the announcement today from Rishi Sunak, was that not what they meant about the Northern Ireland trade? I know this question, not everyone may understand it, but I think it's important that we get people to understand day-to-day news and how it actually does impact your finances in the house.
What was the question?
About the announcement today about the trade agreement with Northern Ireland, and how it fits into the plan for Brexit. So, yes,
what's happened with the final hurdle that was in the Brexit has just been signed, and you may have seen the president of the EU Commission be quite pleased with what was agreed. I've not yet read all the lines, but from what I've read in the document, the custom seems to be very grayish in Northern Ireland. And I don't envy my colleagues accountants who are going to be dealing with that. But the final hurdle in the Brexit agenda has just been crossed. So we are probably going to see the politicians accelerating their plan because the Conservative have to prove the value of Brexit before the next general election, which is very soon. So you can imagine what they're going to do. And we know what Conservatives tend to do. I'm not a politician.
Thank you. Somebody put in the group chat, to the person who asked about buying a house at 25, build your credit, which is very important. That is very important as part of the house buying process. Again, I think when we have a particular session on buying property for first-time buyers, I think we will cover information like that. So please do keep a lookout for our flyers. This was an introductory session. As we go on, we will now proceed and deliver seminars to address specific issues. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions, or whether there's anything. Somebody has a question. Host, do you want to say the question? Because I haven't seen it.
I have a question, please.
Go on.
All right, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, so very quickly, I have two questions. So you spoke about adding value to yourself. And so as somebody who will be leaving university in the next few months, how does a person add value to themselves practically in terms of, I can read as many books, but in terms of on my CV, what do you mean by value? That makes me employable more.
It's what makes you stand out of the crowd. I think when I qualified as an accountant, I thought that I would just come to an employer saying, "Hey, I'm a chartered accountant. Give me a job." We are about 2,000 of us getting qualified every session. So what will make me stand out? And it could be some voluntary jobs you are doing. It could be some additional skills you have developed. It could be how you relate to people, how you present yourself at the interview. And those, it takes practice, because nobody wants to employ a robot, and people want to employ people they can relate to. But unfortunately, there's it's quite sad to say there are some people who don't have social skills at all. They don't. And you have managed to live your life right to university, and unfortunately, you have an appointment with real life. And when you get there, you are just wondering how come people just say thank you for the interview. We are going to keep your name in the file and contact you in 6 months' time. Because there's something lacking. Preparation will help. Have as many interviews as possible. Try to develop some additional skills that you can put on your CV, so that you tell the employer that you are distinguishing yourself from the crowd. The value is what makes you and makes you stand out. Absolutely.
Another thing for young people to consider, what Pastor Albert said is very important, and they call it soft skills in the work world. A lot of people don't have soft skills. If you Google what soft skills are, you will see the full range of what that is and see how you can develop yourself in those individual areas. Does anyone have any other?
She had a second question. What was that?
Sorry.
Thank you. From one of the many things that I've taken from today is just about tracking my income, tracking my expenses, what I spend. So I will be buying a book to just note down, okay, this is what I will be spending. But what I wanted to ask was, in terms of setting priorities, so I think even just on this platform where everybody's in different places. So in the economy that we're in, where it's increasingly becoming expensive, and you can't really afford not to work, how do I set priorities in terms of, okay, I need to finish my degree, or I need to accomplish this by the end of the year, or I need to save this amount of money. But then I have so many other things that I like. So we spoke about bleeding money, and I feel like I'm bleeding a lot of money, but then I just don't know how to prioritize I'm not sure if you're understanding my question. I'm just not sure how to prioritize. Okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. But then at the same time, I need a lot of money. I need to do this, I need to pay for this, I need to contribute to this, I need to save for this. And then now we're talking about investing. Now I need to start investing, like, for my future. Like, how does somebody, depending on where they're at, set priorities and kind of manage the situation that they're in currently?
Okay. I think it's quite important. It takes us back to the point where I said we are work in progress. Okay. Don't forget that. And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Take the first step. Plan the first step so that you enjoy the journey. If you set the bar too high, you will get discouraged and you will forget. Nobody wants to do something they don't enjoy, and nobody wants to do anything they are a failure at. And that's why many of us, we fail at achieving our goals. You said something that, one, you don't enjoy. Secondly, that every time you look at it, you see how rubbish you are. And let me tell you, you will burn that book before you know it. So set something that you can achieve. There is a target. The way you should look at life is, Jesus says that every day has enough trouble on its own. Write down, and probably this is another session because that's how setting goals. Write down all the things you want to do and put against them the why you want to do them. One will stick out, and let that thing be your priority. So you write everything you want to do. You want to be millionaire, you want to buy your house, you want to finish your degree, and then you weigh against it why you want to do those things. As you write down, one thing will stand out and you will drop out the rest. And you will see what the power of concentration will deliver. One thing we don't, there are many books about self-help but most people who have started a journey discover that they experience a grace along that journey that was not there at the beginning. And that's why I want to encourage many people to start that journey. I've told you that I was going to complete my story. When for the first time I set out my financial target for the next 5 years, I achieved that target in 2.5 years. I had beat that. I was well ahead of that target for the first time. I was telling me before this meeting that I have cash projections of my income going probably to the next 7 years. That's what I do for a living at work. I plan. We buy companies. We plan how we are going to turn the business for 10 years. We do the projections. It may not always turn as planned, but at least we have a plan. And let me tell you, most of the time it turns better than the plan. So I ask myself, I do this for a living. That's how, what you hear mergers and acquisition. That's what they do. They sit down, say, okay, I buy this business today for 2 million. I strip out 500,000 of course. I invest 500,000. And in 5 years, it will turn out this amount. And somebody sit down, calculate all those things. But the reality is that somehow it works. So people do that for businesses. Why don't you do that for your own life? So start that journey and you'll find the grace. God will give you the grace.
Esther, just as an encouragement, I remember when I started my journey, I didn't have money at all. And I was saving £1 a month. I had different things I was saving for, and all I could afford to save for was £1 a month. And for me, it was a thing of faithfulness. And it's like, okay, God, I beg, help my situation. There was different things I was saving for. So sometimes you do some things in faith, and as you start, that thing will grow. Another thing I want to add, especially for young people, I think we're in a time and in an economy, especially with the pressures of social media, it seems like everybody has their financial life together. Believe me, you don't know what's funding a lot of things behind the scenes. I don't want to sound negative. There are genuine people out there who have succeeded. I don't refuse. But just remember, some people are in debt. Some people have done a lot of things to get that money that isn't right, morally, whatever, to themselves. There's just a lot of situations, so don't also feel that pressure. There, me and my friend were talking recently, and we was remembering that actually the age of financial settlement actually when I was growing up was 40. You knew that you were aiming for 40 and above, that was when you'd be financially settled, because anything before that is a bit turbulent. You're investing, you're starting a family, you're still trying to figure things out. So it was supposed to be from 40 and above, but I mean, yes, we'll go from there. Esther, if you read the chat, many people have put some things out there for you.
Thank you.
Albert, I will give you a minute to think. I don't know if you've got a summary. I've jotted down 3 summaries for you that I think everybody should take away from today. Number 1, everyone should do a budget. Notebooks are good. If you can, do Excel. It helps you to figure out your financial situation very easily. You know what's coming in, what's going out. I encouraged somebody recently, if you can afford to look at your budget for the year, you know what your rent is, you know what your mortgage is going to be, you know what your travel allowance is going to be, you roughly know certain things. If you can, look at your financial budget for the year. But if that's too much for you, start with the month or that day, that week, whatever. Pastor Albert's point number 2, make sure you're adding value to yourself. In the world work, the market's very competitive. Remember, the market's international. So we're not just competing with people in London, we're competing with people who are coming from abroad for many jobs. Make sure you're adding value. Number 3, make a financial life plan. One of the things, Pastor Albert, I'm going to beg you to touch on is pensions. I think sometimes we don't think that far ahead. Often we're stuck in buying a house and investing, but people need to think about their long-term financial plans. So 60 and above, what happens? And we would like some advice on that, please. I don't know if anyone else has any other topics they want us to cover. Please drop it in the chat. Thank you. We are starting off. So if anything has not been too right, bear with us for the time. Perhaps maybe the next session, we need to actually make it a bit longer. Pastor Albert, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
I think probably I will come back to my first point. I'm in the business of connecting people to God. If you have listened to us, and probably maybe you stumble on this program by chance, and you don't have a relationship with God, everything begins there. I've said at the beginning, everybody needs to, they say in business, you need to have 3 numbers. Your accountant, your lawyer, your accountant, your lawyer, and your banker or your doctor. We are adding the first number you must have. You should have a relationship with God. If you don't have a relationship with God, you are lost. Because everything we receive comes from Him. Say to somebody, every night you go to sleep and you are dead, you don't remember anything. In the morning, you wake up. Life comes back to you, you wake up and life begins. You don't know where that life comes from. You don't know when it's going to stop. Somebody gives it to you. And He gives it to you and endows you with blessings, with money, with work, with creativity, because He created you in His image. You need to get related to Him so that you can perform better. So if you don't know Him, please decide to have a relationship with Him. Ask Him to forgive your sins. Ask Him to come into your life and change you. Drop me, you got my contact on the chat, and we can discuss further. The second thing I want people to do is stop thinking about your obstacles. You see, some of the question was, what if I have a talent and it doesn't succeed? I want to do art and everything. Look, I came to the UK in 2005. I looked for a job for probably 9 months. The only job I could find was kitchen porter. And I did kitchen porter. I was eating cakes and some that thing that they give to some secondary school children when I was washing the pot. I was probably earning about £7 something per hour. That was in 2005. And by the grace of God, I made my way up in the society. I've started somewhere. I want you to start somewhere. Stop looking at obstacles. I find my way. And along the way, you will find some doors that will be closed. You will learn to discover a pathway you never thought of, and so on and so forth. Maybe so Paul has said that I've not said I'm in the business of doing taxation. I discover my true gift. I'm a commercial negotiator. I negotiate for living. I'm negotiating in every place in this country. I went to Mark and Spencer and negotiate bargains. I went anywhere they sell something, I get there and negotiate. That's what I do for a living, even just for the fun of it. And I get it paid a good money just for negotiation. I just finished one of where I saved the company probably more than 1.5 million. And that's my business. But I discover every time. My qualification as an accountant gave me access to that. But along the way, I discovered what was my true gift. You can do the same thing. So stop looking at obstacles and look at opportunities. Find your true business, develop it, add value to it, and be your own brand. And the final point is write down that financial goal. Write it down. Nobody will write it for you. Write down that financial goal. And don't say that you want to be Elon Musk. Don't say that. That will be that's a goal. Write down, put it in writing. If I need to come out of debt, I will come out of debt by this period. I need to my income. We promise you your income will increase by 10%. It will. So, but write down those financial goals. Those are the 3 points I wanted to emphasize on. And thank you very much for connecting. We had no idea you will go this far. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Some people have asked, is there a group chat? How can we stay in contact to know the information for the next session? If you send your emails, in the group chat, we can email you the date of the next one. But then again, if some people really feel like actually they want to be communicated with by another means, bring your suggestions. We're open. We're doing this for the first time. So actually any suggestions will help us to move forward.
You said that when with the next session?
The next session, the date of the next session is Tuesday, the 14th of March. We've decided to make these sessions every 2 weeks. That way it's not weekly. We know that people have various commitments, but it's consistent enough that, you know, it's not forgotten. So actually, I'm not a teacher, but I'm going to encourage us to do our homework. Our homework is to set financial goals. Write your income and expenditure. What's going on in your household? Where can you tie things up? Where do you need to begin to put things to? How can you add value to yourself? Think about it. What can you do? What courses can you engage with? What learning can you do? What experience? And what's your financial plan? If everyone drops their email on the group chat, we will take note of that and email you with the date of the next event. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Perhaps you saw, for example, let's say you're one of my contacts, you saw it on my WhatsApp status, it will be there again. However you want us to keep in contact with you, we will honor that. So if you want to, drop your email on the group chat, please. But other than that,
they can send it to the host. They can send it personally to the host.
Or they can send, yes, thank you. Or send it personally to the host. But other than that, thank you all very, very much. So we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Make sure you've got a cup of tea and some biscuits. And I don't know what topic we'll be discussing, but we'll definitely figure out what that will be and let you all know. So hopefully it's relevant for everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you.